Our top story, fresh violence in Manipur after a brief pause. At least 28 people were injured when a 30,000 strong crowd tried to break through a barricade and defy a curfew. The clash took place at NH2, which runs close to Imphal. The build-up first started at Bishnupur, where the crowd gathered to storm the barricades and visit their abandoned homes in Churachandpur, which has been one of the worst hit districts. The marching crowd ran into nearly 300 security personnel. For 3 hours, the security forces negotiated with the crowd to stop them. Now remember, Manipur has seen ethnic violence for 4 months now, which has also led to large-scale displacement. Lal Haukip, who's a former journalist and assistant professor, Center for the Study of Law and Governance. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us here on Mirror Now. Let me first quickly cut across to my colleague Tejashree for ground updates, and then we'll come back to you. All right, Tejashree, if you could please tell us about the fresh violence that has been reported in Manipur.
Well, yes, what we are learning is that this incident happened on Wednesday, where around 28 people were injured in this incident. And remember that there was a crowd of approximately more than 20,000, and that was moving towards the border area of Churachandpur and Bishnupur. Remember that these border areas of Churachandpur and Bishnupur, of the two communities, there stands the force, and they do not allow or they stop from entering both the groups from each other's area. And this is what might be the reason of the clashes, because when we were also in Manipur, we have seen that these two groups try always to enter in each other's area, to barge the barricades, and then the violence erupts after they enter each other's area. So that is what must have happened. Yesterday too. Now what we are being also told is that this particular incident happened in Saukachau Ikai NH2, which runs across the border of the 52 kilometers from Imphal. And this is not the only case of violence that has been happening, because what the people over there were saying, they say that these incidents, not only just this violence, but incidents of firing do happen in the night, and then their family members who safeguard the villages lose their life just because of these incidents of firing. But also remember that the two say that the army yesterday had also used tear gas shells to disperse the large gathering crowd of protesters from the valley, because because the army over there deployed have been just instructed to keep both the groups apart from each other. And also we are learning is that 2 RAF personnel have also been injured in this particular incident.
Absolutely, Tejashree. Thanks very much for bringing us that ground update. And we'll be going back to Dr. Thongkhola, who's also with us on the broadcast. So, as my colleague Tejashree was pointing out, there has been fresh violence reported in Manipur once again. Tell us, have the government's peace-building measures in Manipur failed?
Actually, peace building is a very difficult task right now, because the minorities or the hill tribes, who are mainly the Kuki-Jo communities, they are unwilling to talk with the government of Manipur, because they believe that the chief minister is the instigator of violence. So they will only talk with the home ministry or the prime minister. And regarding this kind of rally by the women folks, defying curfew has become the norm since the first few days of this conflict, because the state has been transformed into a kind of an ethnocratic state, where this state, which is a multicultural in its sense, has been governed in such a way that it only takes into account the interest of a certain dominant community. And it has been transformed from democracy into mobocracy, because the law and order has totally collapsed. It is the leaders of the civil society organization or so-called civil bodies of the communities who leads them. And we have a curfew right now in Manipur, especially in the Imphal Valley. Yet, how do people gather in thousands? Because since the beginning of the conflict, defying curfew, as I've said, has become the norm because there were measures to restore law and order on the 4th of May by issuing assured side, but still the police and the government was unable to implement that side order for people who came out of their houses. And on the 5th of May, there was a huge, looting of weapons, or
Right.
what to say, many people claim that it's a handling over of weapons. And the government has appealed to the people to return back the looted weapons and warn them that if the weapons are not returned within 48 hours, then the government will have no option but to recommend president's rule to the central government. But yet, despite the weapons not being recovered or being returned, the state government has not recommended president's rule till now. So there's a kind of confusion and defying curfew, or even the kind of mobocracy that we have in Manipur has become the norm. So there is totally a collapse of law and order in this state, and we have been suggesting many constitutional measures that could be implemented in this state. But the Home Minister recently said that the Chief Minister is cooperating with the central government. So there is absolutely nothing that many of the experts on Manipur, the law and order, the constitutional
Absolutely.
experts
So another
say.
thing which is extremely concerning is the displaced people. What would be the plan for taking care of the displaced people? Eventually, they would also want to return home.
Actually, you know, many of their homes are destroyed. How will they return to those homes? Most of the people who have been displaced from More, Susanpur to Imphal, or from Imphal to the hill areas, their house has been destroyed, and it will take years to bring back normalcy, trust between the two communities, and eventually people would, think about returning to their homes, which would take another year or two to once again bring back normalcy in the localities and in their homes. So it's a very difficult process, but yes, it is possible when people have trust in the government. But right now, for instance, the cookies, they think that the chief minister is the instigator of this violence. He has been a part of this violence, and how can they trust the government, or come back and talk with the government when they are distrusting the chief minister. So
Right.
we are not doing the first step that has to be done in this conflict ridden state. So it has to be a first thing first, right? Unless
Right.
that is done, then restoring normalcy and bringing back peace in this state would be a very difficult task,
Right.
and it would be just delaying the process.
Right, sir. Thanks very much for joining us here on Mirror Now. All right, we have Yaman Lamba, who is a senior journalist who's also joining us on the broadcast. Sir, thanks very much for joining us here on Mirror Now. Sir, of course, as we were talking about, there has been fresh violence which has been reported in Manipur. The people of Manipur, of course, defied the curfew, and in fact, 28 people have also been injured in the violence. What are your thoughts?
Yes, there was a curfew, and there was this move to reoccupy Tormung area in Chuachampur by the Meiteis who were displaced from that place earlier. And the numbers of injured is not just 28, it runs into about 100 plus, you see. There was tear gassing and stampede and all kind of things went haywire. And also the fact is that from the 28 onwards, there were 4 days of continuous shelling using 3-inch mortars and lethal bombs and rocket-propelled grenades by the cookies from the upper reaches of the hill to the valley people on the valley in the valley below. And the state did not respond to that, you see. The fact that it continued continuously for 4 days and about 5 people were killed in the process,
Right.
and many injured, but the state failed to respond.
Absolutely. Sir, where do you think that the state government is failing in its peace building measures?
Well, I really don't know because the demands have been to reoccupy areas, but there's been no demand to remove the chief minister. The chief minister is a failed person in the sense that he has failed to deliver the goods. He has failed to protect the cookies. He has failed to protect the Meiteis. And his authority over the hill area is doubtful because Article 355 is supposed to be enforced in the state of Manipur. And he has said that the law and order situation in the hill areas would be handled by the Union Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah. And we really don't know whether that can be allowed under the Constitution of India or not. So when the Supreme Court of India said there's a mockery of constitutional mechanism in Manipur, I think the government, both the center as well as state, has a role to part in making a mockery of the Constitution of India in Manipur.
Right. So thanks very much for joining us and sharing your views. All right.